The coolest part in dunking to me is hitting new dunks, doing stuff that nobody has ever seen before. And you hear it, especially like in the NBA, like in the dunk contest, you hear it all the time, like, oh, like every dunk has been done. But that is just not true at all. And there's so many dunks that are possible. It's just how much your mind is like limited, like where you can take your imagination. But throughout the entire history of dunking, there's been a dunk that is considered the holy grail. It's like the hardest dunk, and I don't know why it's such a cool thing, but right, everybody knows the Eastbay. The holy grail is doing a double Eastbay, putting the ball between your legs 2 times.
3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, I'm Rivera, and I'm a professional dunker straight out of Puerto Rico. So my love for dunking started from basketball. I grew up playing basketball. It was my favorite sport. I always tell people it was my first love was basketball, and I love the NBA. Was my #1 goal. I feel like it's every kid's dream that touches basketball is to reach the NBA. And my favorite part of basketball has always been the dunk. That's my favorite thing to happen in games, but especially the NBA dunk contest. And every single year, that's what I would get most excited for, was the NBA dunk contest. Growing up, I didn't have internet, so I wasn't exposed to like all these crazy dunks that you see from like Team Flight Brothers and stuff like that. And I didn't even know that there was a thing called professional dunking. I didn't know it was a thing at all. And the story that I always like telling people is, because of not having internet, we had like the dial-up, the super slow. You hear like the phone ringing thing when it's like loading up. I actually loaded up an 8-second clip. It's Michael Jordan. You can still look it up. It's called Michael Jordan Best Dunk Ever, but it's when I think Scottie Pippen shot a free throw and Jordan came in from like outside of the 3-point line and did a tip-in dunk on the free throw. It's 8 seconds long. I pressed play so that it could like start buffering. I went to go play basketball for like 3 hours because that's how long it took to load up the 8-second clip. And then when I went back to my house, I just watched it over and over again. Like just that same 8-second clip. But that's kind of my start with basketball and dunking. I always had like low rims around. Like every time I would get access to like a 6-foot rim or 7-foot rim, I loved just lowering it and just dunking, just pretending I was like guys like Shaq or Jordan and stuff like that. When I was 16, I was at school. I had just finished like my homework on the school computer. And then I think I was surfing like NBA.com or something like that, or maybe like one of like the Hoop Mixtape website, something like that. And a video came up of Jordan Kilgannon, and it was him doing a dunk called the crown, which is when you jump up, he jumped over someone, put both his elbows in the rim backwards. At the time, I'm used to seeing like NBA type dunks, right? That was completely different from anything I had ever seen up until that point. And I was like, whoa, what did I just watch? Like, cause when you see something like that for the first time, it just looks so different from any other kind of dunk. And first thing I did was go to YouTube. I typed in Jordan Kilgannon, listed his videos from oldest to newest. And at this point, I had gotten internet. I had finally gotten internet access. But I ordered his videos on YouTube from oldest to newest. And his first video was him at 16 years old, which is how old I was. And it was him not being able to dunk, which is also, I was at that point where I was like back rimming. I was super close to dunking. And he was at the same point, at the same age. And instantly the first thing I thought of, because I had this weird thing, like I wanted to be the best basketball player in the world. Everything I've ever like picked up in life, I have a thing where I need to be the best at for some reason. I don't know why I'm like that. And I've always had just a strong belief in like just being able to like achieve anything and just put your mind to it. So I saw he was in the same spot, and now in my eyes was the best dunker in the world. I'd never seen someone put both their elbows in the rim backwards. So I'm like, oh, this has to be the best dunker in the world. If he's at the same spot I was at, I think I can do that too. And I started Googling his name, an article popped up. Joel Smith is the guy that interviewed him. It's from Just Fly Sports. And he interviewed Jordan Kilgannon, and it was about how he got his vertical. And he said he'd never touched the weight all he did was jump every single day for hours a day. He said he would dunk for 8 to 9 hours in a single day. He would and it was like on low rims too, like 8-foot rims, 9-foot rims, trying to dunk on 10-foot, whatever height. But it was just hours and hours. He would literally bring his lunch to the basketball court, dunk for 3 hours, eat, and then go back to dunking for like 3-4 more hours. I saw that and I was like, and then he would say he would do that every single day, and then whenever he wanted to see a vert increase, he would just rest for a couple of days, and then his vertical would just skyrocket. So I was like, okay, you gave me the formula, this is the best dunker in the world, we're at the same skill level, he gave me the formula, I'm gonna try it, let's see what happens. And from that point, I literally just started jumping every single day for at least 2 to 3 hours a day, just trying to dunk or dunking on low rims. And the same thing started happening to me. My vert started skyrocketing. But I was also super into weightlifting. My stepdad, he was an Olympic weightlifter in college at an elite level. He was like basically slated to compete in the Olympics before he got hurt. And I always loved like weightlifting. I would put in his tapes on VHS when I was little, and I would copy him with like a broomstick and stuff like that. And I just combined the two things, like my knowledge of weight training and then the dunking every single day. And I probably have the fastest progression out of anybody in the dunk world. I went from hitting my first dunk when I was 16. This was March 2014. January 2015, so that's 9 months later, I hit a between the legs dunk for the first time. Same height, I grew maybe half an inch during that period of time. So I went from not being able to dunk to doing Eastbays in under a year. And then the whole time, this is something that's also made me unique, is I was tracking everything. Like I started posting my clips on Instagram since before I could dunk, started posting clips on YouTube. And I treated it not even to get like clout or anything like that. I treated it like a personal journal. So if you go to my oldest post, like I'm on there and it's like, oh, I almost hit this dunk. This is how I feel. This is what I did for training. Tomorrow I'm gonna like go back and do this. And I just would post every day, just like a journal. And because of that, not necessarily because of my skill level, people started following me just because of the journey. And everybody could like relate that I was trying to jump higher. And I started getting like a pretty big following. And yeah, the rest is kind of history from there. Like I tracked every part of my journey from not being able to dunk to where I am now. I've literally tracked everything and shown what the process for that is like. What's up, bro? I hate warm-ups. Oh my God! Everybody who has ever been close to me at one point has filmed for me. Shout out to my friend who's literally here to help record some of my dunks. But yeah, I started dragging my little brother out to the sessions so he could like record me. My brother, he is in a wheelchair, a little electric power chair. And what he would do to get like good angles, he would literally drive with his elbow while holding the phone, and he would do like a little like rolling like action on the videos. And yeah, he was out there that first summer. I found out about the world of pro dunking. I was dunking like 2-3 hours every day, and we'd be out in the Florida sun at noon because that's when the courts would be empty. It'd be like 95, 100 degrees, humid. And he would be out there the whole time recording every single dunk. And to this day, he is my biggest critic with dunk stuff. He's recorded so many that he started getting like a really good eye for it. And yeah, he still helps me out with some dunks. And he's actually heads the World Dunk Association now, which I have had no part in. Like that's all him. And I didn't even know because I moved, and he hasn't been around me like dunking for like a couple years now. But this whole time, he's just been super involved in the dunk community himself, started World Dunk Association. They're trying to make it a sport. They're making a whole grading system for dunk contests so that it can be like actually judged accurately. And yeah, which is like actually really cool. I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on him and like all my loved ones, but yeah, he was a huge part in my dunk journey. As far as how I discovered the world of pro dunking, so after I found Jordan Kilgannon, I started looking up his dunks. From there, suggested videos popped up of like the two big pages that I found was Team Flight Brothers and Dunkademics. And that honestly is probably my favorite period of time in life because it's uncovering, imagine like uncovering like gold or something like that, or the endless knowledge, like a library of knowledge of your favorite thing. And it's so many videos out there that I literally was spending like 4 or 5 hours a day just like watching dunks. And I watched every single video, started studying all these like pro dunkers, found out about these dunk contests like the Sprite Slam Dunk Showdown and stuff like that. And that's when it became my dream to do that one day, like to do that professionally. I just saw these people doing it at a high level and I'm like, whoa, I'm in love with this thing, obsessed with this thing. Let me make it like my craft and see where it can take me. So that's where I kind of made it a goal to be a pro dunker. And then once I had that goal, I remember I was on Facebook one day and I found Kilgannon on Facebook, like his like personal profile. And I sent him a friend request and I remember he accepted my friend request. And at the time, like Jordan Kilgannon now has like 2 million followers or something like that across all the platforms. He had at this time he had 10,000 Instagram followers. Like that was the only social media he had. But in my eyes, he was a celebrity. Like I was like, yo, this guy's like famous. Like he's probably like just like stupid rich and like all this stuff. And he accepted my friend request and I started like freaking out. I was telling my mom like, yo, this guy, like, she had no idea what I was talking about. Like, oh, this guy followed me. And from there, cause I was posting my stuff on Facebook and I remember I was trying to hit my first windmill on 9.6. And I posted, my attempts were like terrible. I posted them on Facebook and then Kilgannon messaged me, like private message, sent me like 10 paragraphs like this thick. Like just boom, boom, boom of all like tips on how to windmill. And I saw his advice. I went right outside. Like as soon as the messages came in, I went right outside. I had a hoop on my street. And in like 10 minutes, I hit my first windmill on 9.6. Came back inside and messaged him. And then he was like, whoa, like nobody's ever taken my advice like that quick. He's like, rarely anybody even takes my advice. Nobody's ever taken it that quickly. It was like, from the time he messaged me, it was 30 minutes later, I had hit my first windmill on 9.6. And then I guess he just saw something in me because of having taken action so quickly and how like passionate I was. And then he was like, bro, you could literally be the best dunker in the world one day. If you train consistently, you'll be better than I ever will be. Because I guess he saw like my potential, my height, like I had better like genetics naturally than him. And when he told me that, that's all I needed. All I needed was somebody telling me like it's possible, and I just took that and ran with it.
Isaiah is jumping crazy right now, so it's like I gotta compete against that. He might not have the technique, but the jumping prowess is there. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. It's 15K on the line. Like I can do a lot with 15K for my daughter, myself, like a lot.
I don't know why it's such a cool thing, but right, everybody knows the Eastbay, the holy grail is doing a double Eastbay, putting the ball between your legs 2 times. And it is very freaking hard. Everybody's tried it. Nobody even gets close. But yeah, it's kind of like the Mecca. It's whoever hits that dunk is probably going to be considered the best dunker of all time. That's what's crazy about that dunk is you need world-class vertical. And I'm not talking pro dunker level, I'm talking jump higher than any pro dunker has jumped. And you need world-class like technique, hand speed. In order to hit a double Eastbay, I was probably when I front rimmed it, I probably was my head was probably at 9.8. So for context, I probably jumped 43, 44 inches on that jump, I would guess. I think like 43 around there. What's different about dunking, so I've tested 50, right? That's why I got this tattoo right here. I've tested 50 officially on a Vertec. But the thing that's crazy about dunking, there's a lot of people out there that jump really high, right? I always give the example of Olympic track and field athletes. That's a sport where it is about objectively running faster than somebody, jumping farther, jumping higher than the next person. And they've been doing it at the highest level for 100+ years. Why aren't those guys pro dunkers and doing crazy things, right? It's because, one, you have a basketball in your hands, you need the technique. Two, you need to figure out how to jump to reach your max vertical while doing a trick dunk. And that's what separates the bad dunkers from the good dunkers, from the great dunkers, is how much of their vertical can they tap into while doing a dunk. 43 inches, so I front rimmed it jumping 43 inches. I can jump 43 inches in my sleep. I could go right now, no warm up, and like pull off a 43-inch vertical. What's hard is doing that off the dribble from a spin while also focusing on jump technique. That eats up a ton of vertical. And the guys who can tap into the more of their vertical are the guys that can like kind of push the envelope and hit new dunks. All that to say, I think the vertical needed to hit a 360 double Eastbay, you need to be able to probably jump 46, 47 inches off the dribble on a spin. So I think the sport needs stuff like this where dunkers can make a living trying to hit things that are gonna push the envelope, things that people have never seen. Because people throw money for like dunk competition and stuff like that, but I don't think, dunk contests to me are overrated. Dunk contests don't decide who the best dunker is at all. Like, there's so many factors that go into it, bad judging, playing, being a showman, like stuff like that. Things that don't have anything to do with how your skill as a dunker. Where the real sport of dunking is here. Empty gym, you're by yourself, you're jumping for 2 hours, you're trying to hit something you haven't hit before. That right there is the roots of dunking. That's what everybody falls in love with dunking for, is that process. And I think like putting money behind that process is such a freaking good idea, because now you're giving incentive to evolve the sport. And to me, it's like, I don't want to be the only person doing that. Like, I want to open it up to other pro dunkers to get that chance to make the sport bigger. My goal is to make this a sport, like have it be in the Olympics one day. And to do that, we need to be doing things like this. So shout out to Fivestar for sponsoring me going for the Holy Grail dunk. I'm calling out 1 Foot God and Jay Clark the jumper. Try to beat me, guys. I don't think you will.